What is up, brothers and sisters? It is me, Rendi, here again, coming back at you finally with a new video after moving, doing all kinds of stuff, figuring out what was on my roof in the last episode, all of those great things. But new me, new place, here we are. Let's get started, shall we? Whoever's not new to this channel already knows I've been working on one of the most unique level 3s in the game, and part of today's episode includes me getting a pendant on the level 3, something that no other level 3 has gotten yet because I completed Heart of the Darkness up until the last step of the quest, being the Amoxliatl boss. Even that in itself took about 2 months of work, a lot of hours, and a lot of time. If you want to check out that video, I'll link it in the description below, as well as the whole playlist for this level 3 account. But because of that achievement, it allowed me to now kill Frost Naguas inside of one of the new Varlamore dungeons, which allowed for a 1 in 100 drop rate of the chance for the Pendant of Ates. But also, it allowed for a chance at me getting this half of a lunar key, which if I get the full key, might even allow for something even greater, and that is the lunar helmet. The lunar helmet is an item I believe less than a handful of people in this entire game have, much less a level 3 or a low level, because of the logistics of getting this thing. From Frost Naguas, which I would have to kill if I never completed the quest, as killing Amoxliatl and all the other NPCs are too difficult if not impossible to kill, it would be a 1 in 6,500 drop rate for the tooth half. Now that's not even the first problem to overcome, because the second problem is once you get that tooth half and then do some skilling for the other half, combine the two keys into the lunar key and open the lunar chest, it's only a 1 in 500-ish chance for the lunar helmet, which makes for about 1,625 hours for one attempt. So first of all, I wanted to see if I could complete Amoxliatl on the level 3 and get the Heart of Darkness quest out of the way, because I had completed every step up until this, and I had gotten the untradeable emissary robes as kind of a flex on my level 3 account, as no other level 3 in the game has these, and it took a lot of time, theory crafting, and perfection, as well as RNG just to get those. Please once again subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, by the way, as it takes me a lot of time and effort to make all of these videos. And today we're not going to be only going over the level 3 content, but possibly another build in itself, along with a unique strategy that could maybe even be used for anyone except me, because I'm not about to do this, I'm too old for it, to complete the Infernal at lower than Exact's record, being 35 combat, using the exact same method I'm going to be talking about for Amoxliatl on possibly another build. And this is just a piece of the puzzle, but it might help you to pull off the $10,000 reward currently on offer for getting something lower than 35 combat in the Inferno, at least by the end of this year. To get the lunar helmet, I'm going to start off and look at Amoxliatl itself, because if I can kill Amoxliatl and efficiently, it's only a 1 in 500 key drop rate from the boss versus the 1 in 6,500 from Frost Naguas. As well as I'll find out running to Amoxliatl for the first time on my level 3, you can't even get into the key room for the chest in this instance version of the Varlamore dungeon, as that's where you have to get the lunar helmet. So technically I will have to complete Heart of Darkness to get over to that area to actually use a key if I ever do get a key half. Unfortunately, this means I'm going to have to kill Amoxliatl on a level 3 if I want the lunar helmet to begin with, much less without even mentioning the amount of insane grind and time it's going to take to get that key half, and therefore the lunar helmet. So therefore I did some research, and what I do best, theory crafting, looked into Amoxliatl and figured out if it was possible to kill this at least quest version of the boss, which is a little bit weaker than the normal instance of the boss, as I would only have to kill it once to then get the access to the chest, and from there I could just kill Frost Naguas if I couldn't take on the harder form of the boss post-quest for the lower key drop rate. Now there's a lot of problems with this boss to overcome. First of all, it heals itself every now and then with an occasional special attack where it throws an iceberg on the ground and then takes health off that if you don't damage the iceberg. Being level 3 combat, we're not trying to get XP and we're not trying to kill the ice blocks, so yeah, he's going to be healing himself, unless there is a mechanic mentioned on the wiki actually that says you can stand in the entrance portion of the room and he won't have an area to throw this block of ice, therefore he can't heal himself. But there's yet another problem: floor damage. Bows out, wake up. Technically, I found out in the quest instance version of the boss, this floor damage does tend to disappear whenever he shoots icebergs up from the floor, making the other spots that are already occupied by the damage inflicting areas vanish. So now we've mitigated the healing process of this boss, but it's not enough, because we have to then make sure we have enough floor space to run around on to make sure we don't die. And secondly, we have to find a way to damage this boss. Luckily, Amoxliatl is not immune to recoils, unlike a lot of the new bosses they put out these days, so recoil is going to be the way to do this. But he has a ton of HP. Even in his quest form, he has a lot of HP, which might be impossible to overcome, because I'm only going to have so much food. I mean, I can take purple sweets in here, but he does more damage than even I can Guthix Rest over too. As well, there's another problem here because he does melee attacks with 0 tick delay, meaning these aren't just standardly tick eatable. Now, I could do something like I did in my Perilous Moons video where I use Phoenix necklaces, but there's a couple problems with that. One, I would run out of Phoenix necklaces because this thing's HP is so big, and two, I need to recoil this boss, meaning I don't want the Phoenix necklace to null his damage. I need him to hit me in order to recoil damage back onto him. So here's where I came up with another idea, and that was to possibly use the new Hunter food in order to delay a food heal on my account while then using a stall like the Crate Ring, the Easter Ring, or even the Easter Book. When I would eat the stalled food, Amoxliatl would see my HP as lower, and then I would heal past that after the stall came through, meaning Amoxliatl would technically hit like a 5, and then I would heal up to 10, and then I would remain with 5 HP left. Now this was possible, but this thing has hundreds of HP, so how are we going to get hundreds of the type of Hunter food into the Amoxliatl boss fight? Much less navigate the small area where he is throwing all this ice. Well, there is a meat sack that holds 50 Hunter meat that are raw, but unfortunately you can only use this nowadays past an update or a patch anywhere that's a bank only, meaning I can't withdraw these or drop them and destroy it and then cook these inside the Amoxliatl fight. I did think of that, but unfortunately that was not a go-to here. There was another idea I had. Now the floor damage here actually counts towards its own recoil damage, so I could technically tick eat up to 8 damage as this hits every single tick you stand on it, then step off of it. I would just need an 8 tick stall or longer, meaning for every piece of Hunter food I could do about 8 damage back to the Amoxliatl boss if I stalled on that tile for 8 ticks and then tick 8 with the Hunter food and walked off of it. Now the problem with this is I would still need 50 Hunter food, which is impossible to get. And there are techniques with the looting bag you've seen me use in previous episodes that use like half-made rests, and I make full ones to get more of that. But with the Hunter food, it disappears in PvP worlds when destroying a looting bag because it's registered as a normal food. Unlike how the herb tea mixes before, whenever destroying those in the looting bag showed up because it wasn't technically a food yet. There's unfortunately no way to do this, not even with raw Hunter meat, to get 50 of the food into my inventory in this instance boss fight. So at this point, the level 3 Heart of Darkness completion and the Amoxliatl kill seemed to be somewhat hopeless. But I was still intrigued by this new idea of stalling for damage and possibly healing myself past the stall like with the new Hunter food. Was there another way to do this? Well, technically yes, but not on my account. I would have to build something like a level 7 combat account, and here is where I started thinking of this idea for the Inferno. But before I expose all of my secrets in today's episode, I've got to talk about today's sponsor for the video, and that is Apex Gaming PCs. They've been a long-time sponsor of the channel. Apex Gaming PCs has all your computer needs. If you want to run a bunch of clients like I sometimes do, you want to check out the Apex Streamer Plus PC, which comes with a standard Ryzen 5 5600 and RX 7600. As well, Apex Gaming PCs are running a special until May 31st, and it will allow you to get a free Apex Xtreme Package when you buy the Apex Kryptonite Streamer Plus or Zen Plus. Also, when purchasing an Apex Xtreme Package, you'll get a free 5070 Ti upgrade when purchasing the Apex Zen Platinum or carbon-free 5080 upgrade. Sorry, Bozo keeps snoring even during the ad segment. I don't know if you can hear that, but he's on the ground just breathing underneath me. On top of all these deals and more that last till May 31st, you can always use my discount code Rendi, which is a 5% discount across all site-wide purchases. So if you're looking for a new PC, whether it's for your RuneScape needs, gaming needs, or anything, check out all the builds on Apex Gaming PC's site, which I'll link in the description below, and make sure to use my code Rendi for that 5% discount. If anyone wants to complete the Inferno at maybe even 30 combat or even lower, this could be a real possibility, as right now the current Inferno record stands at 35 combat by exact, and the methods that him and others were doing was using attack peers with the Ursine Chain Mace and 70 attack. 70 attack though cost a lot of combat levels, and although you do need some range for Zuck, maybe you can do it at a lower range level along with a higher prayer level like this here. My idea was simple, to use the new prayer renewal potions, which restore your prayer by 1 point every few ticks. From here, you could use my technique I kind of used in the Perilous Moons quest, where I would rock cake into a stall to trigger redemption this time instead of Phoenix Necklace, and only 1 or 2 prayer points, sitting at the highest HP I possibly could. Based on your prayer level is what redemption is going to heal you back, so you could therefore eat into the stall, damage yourself, proc the redemption, and all the damage behind that redemption would only go off your previous HP. So say if I was 1 HP, walked out, ate a rock cake, and then stalled for a few ticks, I would get hit 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, but Redemption would proc first from the 0 of the rock cake and heal me back up to 10, allowing me to survive the encounter with not only one NPC, but possibly even more behind that, behind a pillar. This is a 0 XP loss method for getting an Infernal Cape, which before there was no really way to do this. Even with the special attack on the Ursine Chainmace, you were wasting attack XP, wasting HP XP, and you would have to level out your range to that attack level. But with only 49 prayer or even more, saying if you want to heal more from Redemption based on different instances, you could use this alteration of a method and probably get an Infernal Cape as low as 30 combat, maybe lower if you found a better way to even deal with the nibblers in this instance. So for anyone who wants $10,000, which is currently on the line, well, there's a big solution to the method of how can I get my combat so low, because I believe Exact's method using the Ursine Chainmace is currently at its lowest standard, being 35, as everything was done perfectly and all the XP was literally from one attempt. The funny thing about this is I found this method just trying to figure out a way to kill Amoxliatl on a low level account and realized I could do it on a 7 combat prayer peer. But, you know, the same method for an instance NPC with limited food is going to be applicable in other instances with limited food, such as the Inferno, and that's where this whole idea came from. There's a couple alterations you can do to this method as well. You can literally walk out without stalls to do 1 tick eat damage, as Redemption will have 1 tick clearance to proc before the actual projectile NPCs. Also, you can go ahead and even use this on melee NPCs like the Meleeer in order to tick eat melee. It's virtually a tick eat for free every time you have a 1 prayer point. Also, if you had higher prayer, for instance, you could start out at a higher HP level and recoil 2 every time for a singular hit on NPCs, since double digits do hit more with recoil. As well, you could have infinite recoils by using my other Ring of Suffering and Noted Ring of Recoil method I've used on my level 3 Fire Cape, so you don't even need 75 HP to wield Ring of Suffering. You could even stand out in the middle of multiple NPCs if you had their attack synced and the right length of a stall, and use something like stackable belladonnas from farming, which don't get interrupted during projectiles like a rock cake does, to self-inflict damage into a stall and repeat the process, continuously recoiling NPCs, maybe with no pillars or even the need to kill the nibblers at all. This costs no XP at all and could make your range even lower if you didn't need Ruby Bolts to take on Zuck. I mean, technically with a stall and Redemption, you should be able to overheal Zuck's initial hits with the right timing and possibly some belladonnas, maybe not even needing to attack Zuck at all with a ranged weapon and wasting XP on the final boss fight. As well, these prayer renewals last a long time. They're very expensive in the GE, but they are handy for this. A full inventory of prayer renewals will last you over 10 hours, and if you were somehow able to looting bag some more of these by using some of the ingredients and making more, then 2 inventories of these could last you even upwards of 20 hours, meaning yes, it is possible, I believe, to do an Infernal with this Redemption method. Now, I could have made a whole video that was titled How to Get $10,000 from Playing RuneScape and clickbait you all for a second time and just talk about this strategy while using the Infernal, but I'm going to save you the time and I don't care enough to do that. So there's that, just throwing that little bit in here. Yeah, if you want to work towards some crazy crafted method of getting an Infernal Cape, that's the most important segment, I believe, in saving XP is this new Redemption stall method. But getting back to Amoxliatl, what does this have to do with Amoxliatl, the lunar helmet, all of this? Well, I could develop a 7 combat prayer peer, only 7 combat, and complete Heart of Darkness at the lowest combat level. But to be honest, I'm lazy and I just enjoy theory crafting, so we're just going to be talking about how to do it and not doing it. The method is the same though. This floor damage would always be 1, so I would just make sure and do a 7 tick stall, and you can't rock kick during projectiles and damage. With Amoxliatl, we're going to be in constant combat, not behind a pillar, able to walk out. So we would be sitting on a tile at optimally 2 HP. We would walk into the tile, then use a 7 tick stall like the Easter book that you can use in combat, and then have Redemption proc. The floor always does 1 damage, so it would take us from 2 to 1, proc the Redemption off the first hit, and then heal us back up to 9 HP, hitting then another 7 ones behind that, and recoiling back 8 damage exactly on Amoxliatl. And we would have to do this perfectly while dodging other floor damage and mitigating other things like that, but I believe we could do Amoxliatl technically at 7 combat, which would then allow for us access to complete the Heart of Darkness quest entirely, and then get into that chest room with the lunar key. Now here's where it gets interesting, as these kills with the Amoxliatl would take between probably 1 and 2 hours of perfection on average, and that's with probably a death or 2 every time, because it's going to be extremely hard to pull off tick perfect and be a crazy strategy to witness. It's also going to be harder once you're out of the quest to kill the non-quest instance version of Amoxliatl, so this method might not even be possible for the post-quest version, and I believe the floor damage works a little bit different in that version of the boss as well. So if I had this 7 combat per build and we were doing Amoxliatl for the key rates, it's a little bit quicker. It's a 1 in 500 key rate on an Amoxliatl kill. Let's say it takes 2 hours on average for 1 Moxie kill. Well, that's 500,000 hours or 20,830 days. Hey Alexa, what's 20,830 days converted to years?
20,830 days is 57 years and 1 month.
Okay, so that method, if we're able to kill Amoxliatl in the non-quest phase, would still take us 57 years, but that's better than what we're looking at if we're going to kill Frost Naguas, because 57 years is not that bad compared to what we're going to be looking at next here. And 57 years is just an average, by the way. You could get the lunar helmet early, late, you know, it could take you more like 500 years if you went 10 times dry on the drop rate. But as well, if you're killing Amoxliatl for the halves of the keys this way, you have an almost definite chance to get the Moxie pet, which is on average 6,000 hours, being a 1 in 3,000 drop rate at 2 hours a kill, 6,000 hours. So hopefully on this per build, you get the pet along with the helmet, or else there's something really wrong going on. 6,000 hours is a more workable goal. Something that is possible, but you would be old and decrepit like myself and wasted probably half your life doing. Now back to our main goal, lunar helmet here. If you wanted to actually kill the Frost Naguas on a per appear or a level 3 even, and go for the longer rate of getting the lunar helmet, yeah, longer than 57 years, then this is what we're looking at here. So I did the math, yeah, I know, unbelievable, but it's about 4 poison dynamites on average to get a hit off on the Frost Naguas with their defense and their defense bonus. They don't have the biggest defense bonus, which is great. As well, I can kill these Frost Naguas in the instance version of the quest area and get all of their drops. The problem is I just can't get to the chest unless I complete the quest. So here's where I will be going for the pendant, because it is only a 1 in 100 drop rate, and even though, yeah, it takes forever to kill these Frost Naguas and it takes a lot of poison dynamite, it is a much more feasible goal than going for a 1 in 6,500 drop rate at a then chance of a 1 in 500 lunar helmet. Sorry, Bozo's snoring again. But the Frost Nagua method, let's break that down a bit. So 4 dynamites on average to do an inflicted damage, a real damage on a Frost Nagua, and then we have to recoil and tick eat the rest of the kill. At least we do in the instance version of the quest area, because no one else can go down there and help you out. I did go on a main to this point in the quest to make sure that the Frost Naguas in the instance cave do have the same drops as the ones in the post-instance cave after the quest, and they do. I actually got a pendant on only like 16 KC on this main, and you'll see why this frustrates me later. On the instance version, we're looking at 4 dynamites per kill, and then we're going to have to recoil and tick eat down the NPCs here for a solid 10 minutes per kill. And I believe in the non-instance version, it would take about this time as well. You're going to have to pretty much tick eat this or vengeance it. Either way, dealing with an alt, it's going to take you quite some time. So you have to collect poison dynamite first of all to do this method. And I would say you collect about 300 dynamite every 5 hours, and then you have a cooldown of like 8 more hours before you can world hop again, because there's a world hop limit when collecting the nightshade off the ground inside the Watchtower quest. On average, you're going to be using about 24 dynamites an hour, 6 kills an hour, which is 24 minutes. It's about 1 minute of dynamite to collect and world hop, as there's 3 nightshades per dynamite you have to use, and there's a delay between world hopping. So minus the collection time of the dynamite, we're probably looking at an average of more like 4 or 5 kills per hour. And the tooth half is a 1 in 6,500. The helmet once again is a 1 in 500 from the tooth half. As well, you have to do some skilling to get the other half of the key to make it, but you know, we're skillers, we're level 3, we're per peers, we know how to skill, right? So that's fine. We're not even going to be looking at the skilling portion of this in the calculation, but this is what I'm thinking. So because the tooth half is 1 in 6,500, and then it's a 1 in 500 for the helmet, that's 1,625 hours for 1 attempt at the lunar helmet for a 1 in 500 pull chance. You could get really lucky and spend 1,600 hours, and that's a feasible goal. Or you could go really dry and listen to this. So on an average rate, we're looking at 812,500 hours for the lunar helmet using this poison dynamite Frost Nagua method, and that equates to 33,854 days. And this is playtime. This does not include sleeping, eating, using the toilet, all of that. Okay, so if you're doing this, there's something very wrong with you, because Alexa, what is 33,854 days converted into years?
33,854 days is 92 years and 9 months.
So 93 years to get this helmet on a per appear. Bozo, stop snoring. Using the poison dynamite tick eating method. I think I'm gonna pass on that one. That's in game time, and that's average rate. Okay, what happens if you go dry? If you go 2 times drop rate, 186 years to get the helmet? It would be a really unique account, but I'm pretty sure you'd be dead. So instead, we're gonna go for the more average goal of Let's not kill this boss on a level 3 because it's not possible. Let's not waste our time making the prayer here because even though theoretically it's possible to get a lunar helmet and a moxie pet, I'm not even going to be spending 6,000 hours, much less 93 years on average of in-game time to be going for some goal like this, which is extremely repetitive. Instead, I'm going to be going for the 1 in 100 Pendant of Ates today from these Frost Naguas using a, once again, method that no other level 3 can do because no other level 3s at this portion of the Heart of Darkness quest. So I can get another cool untradeable item on my account that no other level 3 has, and that's the whole purpose of this level 3 1 of 1 series, which once again I'll link in the description below, the whole playlist to the series. It's got some crazy feats in it that are beyond theory crafting and some that include a little bit of work like today's episode will. So the pendant is a 1 in 100 chance, and like I said, I tested it out before on a main to make sure the instance version of these Frost Naguas are going to be dropping this pendant, and they did. At 1 in 16 KC I was able to get this pendant on the main. So I thought, you know, this is feasible, this is great. On average, if we're doing 4 kills per hour and it's a 1 in 100 rate, that's only 30 hours to get this necklace. Unfortunately, I didn't think about going dry, or I did, but I thought, you know, maybe I'd get lucky like I did on the main. No, that's not the case. I did this for 2 months on and off, and yeah, this is the method I developed. I basically realized when pulling the Frost Nagua to the unaggro portion of the area, it allowed for you to still go in for a poison dynamite, and you weren't able to use poison dynamite regularly on these NPCs because they cut for some reason the effect of the poison dynamite. So I did have to get to the safe zone to use the poison dynamite at least once. Tick eat, wait to see if the poison dynamite procced on the Frost Naga, which with its defense was a 1 in 4 chance of hitting. So luckily I did have hundreds of poison dynamite already collected, and as well even more belladonnas farmed, so I could make more poison dynamites if necessary, because I was doing this for so long that I was doing it before I moved out of my house. Before I moved again, I had a delay on my new house and I was stuck on a mobile device and had nothing to do. So what did I do for about 100 hours on an air mattress in a closet sized room? More Frost Naguas. I found out how to do this on mobile, you know, switch around some of the interfaces, and I was able to get some more kills off. This took a lot of time and a lot of poking with my finger. I hate mobile. I don't know how people do mobile only stuff at all, because before this I hadn't done anything mobile at all in this game. This was terrible. I can understand like AFKing something on mobile, but this was god awful. And so laying on my air mattress, hoping I would not get blood clots in my legs, I laid there for countless hours, about 80 hours, going for about 200 kill count on the Frost Naguas inside this instance room with my poison dynamite, which I actually ran out of and had to start using some of the belladonnas I farmed because I'm not about to be collecting poison dynamite and world hopping on a mobile device and then just continuing the process of these kills. It was a very long tick-eating sesh every time. Sometimes I messed up and died. Other times we got through the kill. But yeah, I would say on average, I was about 4 kills per hour with the Frost Naguas. And eventually this started taking so long that the place I was in, my service wasn't great. I had to get a new phone. I switched phone plans. I switched to Cricket from Verizon. Surprisingly, Cricket had better service than Verizon. I don't even know how that's possible. But yeah, we switched phones. My kill log got reset around 130. Uploaded the clips I had from my phone to a Google Drive so I wouldn't lose them when I switched phones. Did about another 100 kills on the new phone. And then finally, you know, had to take a pause again because we still didn't have the pendant. Moved into a new house, set everything up. Took me forever to set this room up, by the way. If you can't tell, look at all this equipment. I don't even know why I have half of this stuff, not gonna lie. But then, why do I have 2 cameras? Like, why do I even have 2 cameras? I don't know, just so you can like see both sides of me. Don't ask questions you don't want answers to, okay? So yeah, after about 20 more kills on the PC, we're looking at around 250 kill count, about 2.5 times the drop rate, and about 90 hours into this, I finally got the Pendant of Ates. Thank fucking God, man. Thank God. I was able to then equip it, be the first level 3 with this necklace. It looked beautiful. I really just wanted it for the cosmetic purposes, but also I could activate these pillars around the world map, get the teleport, and be the first level 3 with access to a direct teleport to these locations. Yeah, this thing looks pretty badass. It doesn't look as badass as the lunar helmet or as the Amoxi pet would, but you know, maybe one day. Not me though. I'm not taking on a 6,000 hour task once again, much less a 93-year task, but if anyone wants to do it, if anyone's up to it, be my guest. As well, if anyone's up to try that Infernal challenge with the new redemption method I mentioned, be my guest, because I'm getting too old for this. I like theorizing. I don't like performing. I do some of it, like 90 hours worth, but 60,000, 812,500 per se for the lunar helmet. Not my cup of tea, neither of those, much less the Infernal, which would take me probably another year to theory craft, get down and do everything perfectly, because I am terrible under stress. I just do things enough times with weird methods to where I eventually overcome them and get them completed. So that's me. That's the video. I did get the Pendant of Ates, the first one on a level 3. There's some theories for you to look at for, you know, your next level 7 Infernal Cape completion, or level like 20 something, whatever you want to take on the nibblers and everything else. I don't know. And maybe even you will build a prayer here one of these days and take on Amoxliatl and spend the next 93 years of in-game time to get the lunar helmet. Thank you for joining me on this wild theory-induced episode of my level 3 1 of 1 series. Once again, the entire playlist is down below. Thank you to everyone for subscribing and staying with my channel through hard times, through good times, through bad times, through every time of this walk of life. And I'll see you all again soon with some more content. Not of me doing the Infernal, by the way, at 11 combat.